dimensions and numberings can be confusing. That's a definite. And like that, this next to the last one, be cognizant of operating requirements in the region being modeled. A lot of cabooses were assigned to certain divisions or wherever.
How would you find that out in a region or in a division?
I don't know if we have a list of assigned cabooses or not, but
Just have to find a photograph.
yeah, photographs are the best.
Deal with
one.
the photograph.
There
They
were,
pretty much stayed in that district.
yeah, there were a few I saw that were actually stenciled in Mobile Division. So I don't know if they did that elsewhere. But
Yeah, that's kind of a hit or miss.
yeah. And the importance of prototype research. Find photos and drawings where possible, and that's a biggie for me. Okay. This is just a general L&N history. I don't think we really need to go much into that, but started in 1855, spans the southeast. L&N roster as many as 70,000 freight cars, 587 passenger cars, and 1,000 plus steam and diesel locomotives. Okay, next. And the good old map. Okay. Most cabooses were early four-wheel designs. Some way cars performed double duty. Depending on data sources, as many as 450 plus wood cabooses were rostered as in 1917. We don't have a whole lot of records from before then, so it's hard to really nail a specific number down. 8-wheel designs were formally developed in 1910 plus time frame. Early designs were equipped with a combination of wood and steel underframes. Wooden bay window cabs were acquired in the 1957 merger with N6, so that's the first time bay windows showed up on the L&N. Next. Okay, next. This is, what's interesting, you're starting to see the formation of the standard L&N caboose, but you had, instead of a ladder, you had the grab irons up the side, and you had that funky roof on the cupola. I'm glad they got rid of that. That'd be very long. Next. Bobbers, Woody Juniors, I call them, and there were a lot of these, but most of them were gone by 1940. It's not quite the same. I actually scratched them on one of these. You can get away with using bobber parts from other bobbers, but the sides, the windows are different. One thing that differentiated this from a little Woody, other than, of course, four wheels, this has end windows on it. But it's pretty much the same features, ladders, stuff as little Woodies and a cupola. So
Were they running these on a particular?
they were small, like transfer runs and all that. I think I found a photo of one in service in Helena, Alabama, which that was a heavily coal mining area at the time. They mined the coal there and they'd go into Birmingham, so there was some around there on the branch lines. If you ever look at a early or a pre-1940 shot of a yard or something, if you see a caboose down there, it has the end windows. That's probably one of those.
One of the things about a four-wheel design like that, there were some scale cars that had four-wheel trucks, or had a four-wheel undercarriage, and they were limited to 25 miles an hour, rear of train only. And it was because they were very unstable at higher speeds, so and rough track. So
That was fairly common.
I wouldn't have wanted to ride that on behind the bigger on the train.
There are none known to survive, I think. I know Birmingham Southern got one or two secondhand from the L&N.
Do we have any information on color of those? You know,
It's sort of, best we can figure it's a dark red. Some of the earlier Woodies were dark red, and some of that's due to the film. I think it was orthographic film would render even a medium red dark.
okay.
So you gotta be careful with that. Larry's what? I think this one was at South Louisville Shops. You still see it's got like the chalk line under the L&N from where they stenciled it. Caboose nicknames, yeah. Little Woodies, are short length, 32-foot, less cross-sectional area. Big Woodies are longer, 38-foot, larger sides. Big Woodies have 40% more side area, okay? Okay, overview, Woodies, Little Woodies, Class NE, total 263 cars, built at L&N South Louisville shops, constructed in 5 different programs, 1918 to 1926. A few survived into the 1970s and maintenance away and wreck train service, often painted gray. Okay. 10 different number, in 1918, 10 different number series, car numbers 1 through 949 for L&N markings, and 981 to 986 for LH and STL, and then later went back to L&N. And 356 car numbers allocated. And there we go, one of the early ones. The trucks would vary on them. When we were researching for this new run of Woodies, we're trying to figure out what's going to be the closest trucks available, but they did vary on them. Next. A little later version, this was after the, I think this was after the NC merger. Yeah, after Steam, there's a splash guard on Steam era ones, and then they removed them after Diesels took over. I'm not sure what the exact reason.
When you say splash guard, what do you mean?
It's a wooden, I think that we'll see something later on that has them, but on the end platforms on hand railing, there's a wooden panel
Oh, yeah.
on each side.
Catches the
This is on
spray
Arch
from the
Bar
wheels.
trucks.
Oh.
That's what I was gonna say, it
This
looks
is,
like Archibald.
this is close around probably around 1960. I believe that's one of those ex-Lehigh New England RS2s behind it. So, it being a color slide, it's probably from the 60s. Okay. Yeah, most of these, just a different style lettering. That's probably the last style that they had. So that dates from the 60s, I would imagine, too. But here again, splash guard's gone.
By the way, the decal company that did the decals for the ventilated box is the company doing the decals for the next run of the Woody Cabooses. And he's working on the safety emblems right now. But that'll be part of the set, and we will market. He's given us permission to market the decal sets separately. So if you've got other cabooses that you wanna.
You're doing that in O scale
better.
also, right?
What's that?
You're doing the O scale also, right?
Well, he probably can, so, no, we hadn't asked him to do that. I'll ask him.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next. Design variations, 2 phases, pre and post 1921. A little bit wider car body on the post 21, less roof overhang. Trucks, leaf spring arch bar, 2 types of leaf spring bed and doors. With and without latitudinal running boards at the ends. This is where photos come in real handy. With and without latitudinal running boards at the cupola. Different wheel splash boards on the end railings of some cars. I guess that's the proper name, splash boards for those. Okay. 19 continued, window screens, screen doors. I remember seeing a Woody when I was a kid that had a screen door on it.
Flemington.
Yeah.
Like the mobile version.
Yeah. As cars were rebuilt, K-back brakes replaced by AV brakes, toolboxes removed to make way for AV brake equipment. Roof tin or mule hide, depending on time. Mule hide was sort of a canvas,
Doped.
tarred kind of thing.
Was it doped with something? Like
Yeah,
a waterproof sealant?
Yeah,
They stapled it or whatever, and then they painted over the top of it?
yeah, it's pretty common, they use it in, passenger cars too, you know, baggage cars had mule hide roofs, and, you can still buy mule hide. It's, used on barns and what have you.
Okay. Yeah, and there's your colors, bright red, the freight car red. And end platforms could vary, red or black, roofs mostly black, but a few red. Underframe and truck black, grab iron stuff, painted yellow. Lettering sizes, originally 12-inch, reduced later to 9-inch. Numbers 9-inch and later reduced to 7-inch. Lettering style Roman and later, and some L&N speed lettering. Are we doing speed lettering in that decal set?
No.
Okay. Next.
There's
Just
a
the
good one.
variations. So there's one, no latitudinal running boards, no splash guards on it.
That's a mule hide.
Yeah, it's a,
Yeah.
you can tell by all the little rivets across the
Yeah,
cupola.
using the paddles instead of marker lines.
It's got a speed letter.
Okay. 19 overview, and then we get the big woodies.
Yeah.
Also designated Class NE. Total of 240 built by South Louisville shops, converted from ventilated boxcars.
Good use of them.
So, next, boxcar steel underframes allow cabooses to be assigned helper districts. 141 remaining little woodies restricted from helper district. Initial group of big woodies built without cupolas for transfer service. Additional groups outfitted with the same cupolas little woody to save money. Okay. Retention of boxcar framing, resheathing, cover door openings. End walls moved inward 22 foot 9 inches to provide space for end platforms. And retention of boxcar trucks with leaf springs replacing coil springs. Okay. All the different groups, 230, 259, 260, 289, 610 to 789, total of 240 cars. 33 cars modified with radio systems at Boyle Shop. Steel Murphy roof replaced with mule hide. Cars renumbered to L&N 433 to 549. Final group reworked at Radnor Shops in Nashville in 1962 and renumbered 390 to 399. 160 cabooses of the original 240 were reworked and renumbered.
Did any of them get to get repainted gray
I think there was war
With the-
train service.
with the red L&N?
Oh, you're talking about their first gray scheme?
Yeah, like the little woodies. I mean, the little the bay windows.
Maybe.
I just don't know.
I've never seen any pictures, but I've seen the bay window cabooses painted gray with the red lettering. But I don't think I've ever seen any of the
Yeah.
little woodies or the big woodies painted gray with the.
The Corbin Wrecker had a little woody on it, painted gray, but I believe that the stenciling on it was either white or black.
Okay.
Somebody's probably got a picture of that. caboose.
Additional horizontal safety rails added railing starting in 1947. Wooden splash guards removed from the end platform starting in 1955, the end of steam. Radios removed started in the mid-1960s. Mostly painted bright caboose red, black roofs, underframe and trucks, grab iron step ladder and platform both step painted yellow. Lettering size 12-inch reduced to 9, numbers 9 later reduced to 7. Lettering style Roman and later some L&N speed lettering.
Ooh, that's. I was gonna ask. Are they gonna do the radio equipped
Yeah,
emblem?
Yeah,
Oh,
we had.
wow, that's cool.
We had to dig out some stuff for that one. Cabooses modified at Bowles for radio stenciled radio equipment with lightning bolts. Okay. Big Woody's first cars for transfer service, somebody stole the cupola. Oh, I do one of those, there were some of those around Birmingham. Okay.
Cheaper to build.
Yeah, there you go. Steps are on the outside of the
Sort of,
frame.
Splash guards are still on there, so that would be pre-55. It's got the original safety herald on it.
Heavyweight coach with sash windows.
Yeah,
That's a metal roof too, isn't it?
green. Okay. Well, I longitudinal walkway on that one. The mule high roof, but the speed lettering.
Wow, you can really tell how narrow the cupola was on it.
Okay, we're starting on bay windows, in-seat cabs. Didn't it see how, is that a steel sided, or is that? the
No, it's
wood?
wood.
No,
That's
it's tongue
wood.
groove.
Some angle on that, it's hard to make out the vertical. Yeah.
You can see it on the left-hand side.
What year cars are those?
What it looks like is a T-bird.
Early sixties.
1957?
I would guess 57 since that's what it's.
They're tri-levels then.
I wonder how.
Those aren't 1957 cars.
Okay.
Time travel.
You didn't ask the formal question.
What is 1957?
Deteriorating condition of wood cabooses and rigors of train service demanded steel replacements. The first caboose was converted from a boxcar and was deemed impractical and unacceptable to the workforce. Again, surplus hopper frames were used as a basis for rendering a short, stocky design. L&N moved from assigned cabooses to pooled cabooses, entering into modifications to labor organization agreement. Designated Class NE, same as wood cabooses, total 350 cars constructed in 4 programs. 1963 to 1968, built at South Louisville shop, bay window style adopted, no cupola. Let me say something about that. Steve Johnson has a picture of the very first bay window caboose. It was in South Louisville shops at the time, and it not only had a bay window, it had a cupola. They couldn't decide which design they wanted, so they just added it to both on the same car. And they decided to go with the bay window.
Because it looked better.
They took the cupola off, so, but there is a photo of it, I believe, somewhere.
They brought the labor representatives in too to look at that prototype. Number 1000 is what it was, so, and there are other differences in it, so probably wise to avoid your caboose being numbered 1000.
Is that the actual 1000 at Etowah? Is that?
I don't
I've
think
heard
it is.
debate on whether it was that one or they just renumbered one of the others. All steel body interior and exterior wood floors. And I know about those wood floors, don't we, John?
Mm-hmm.
We ripped them out of the one at Milton and replaced them. Surplus plain bearing trucks used, some with leaf springs, some with coil springs, equipped with electric lights and radio 12 volt, because I know that part too. Baco dry belt system used to charge batteries, equipped with aluminum frame windows and doors, oil fired heater, flush toilet, ice activated water cooler, complex dual handbrake brake arrangement.
What's an ice activated water cooler?
A cooler with ice in it.
Yeah, okay.
Igloo cooler.
The ice doesn't activate anything.
I think they say that so they can charge more money for it. Anyway, there's a different series. I'm not gonna go through there. My voice is starting to go. Note 1000 converted from surplus boxcar. Okay. Painted light gray, but later changed to bright red. Black trucks and underframe. Yellow steps, handrails, and end platforms with some early variations. Red slanted L&N speed lettering. Light blue interior walls, redwood floor.
How long did they last in gray?
Not long.
Well,
I
some
guess
of them hung
maybe
on
only
for a
those.
long time.
The one at Milton, at least the one at Milton, 1148, I think that's the right number, yeah. When we got it, I started stripping the paint off of it to repaint it, and I was taking it off by layers. It went all the way down to gray. L&N evidently never bothered to remove the old paint. They just cleaned it and sprayed over it. So there were a couple of layers of red on there, and then the gray. Yeah. But
It's also added rust protection.
yeah.
Treated like a problem.
Ornamental trucks were trying to improve ride quality and eliminate plain bearings. Those were some funky looking trucks too.
Yeah.
Running boards eliminated, selected windows blank to comply with FRA glazing requirements, troublesome aluminum doors replaced with wood steel clad doors. I know about that one too. Double handbrake system cost flat wheels, one handbrake eliminated. Next. That's the gray scheme with the red lettering. It's black outline on the red lettering too. Microscale, I don't know if it's available, it has that set to do those.
And was that a full length, or was this one of the short?
This is the regular short one. The full length calves were built by Fruit Growers Express.
Yeah, 6,400
Or
class?
the international, I think.
Both.
Both, yeah, 6,400 class.
International.
The FGEs were like the transfer cab style with the big platforms on the end.
The last order of bay windows were from international, completely different from this. In no respects. Okay, next. There's another one. And more.
I like those.
Go back one there if you can. That shows something that weathering, people who are interested in weathering, sometimes when they'd go across the service track and the windows would be so dirty, they would, the laborer on the service track would hand wash the windows. And you can see on that right-hand window there, some of the drippage from that soap and cleaner mixture. And some of them were more pronounced than that, but that's kind of a neat effect that I've seen done by some modelers.
And that one's on standard Bettendorf trucks with the leaf springs. That'd be fairly easy to do.
Barely
That's
see that
a-
safety sign.
That's the later version. Let's look where the smoke jack is.
Yeah.
That's not another one.
Was that a safety logo on the bay window?
Yeah,
Maybe on it.
yeah, the reds got lost in the dirt. But so does yellow ones. So. Yeah, there were a couple of different variations on the yellow lettering. They had the first word of the black outline, and they went to non-outline.
When they plated over the windows, were they trying to save money, or they just didn't want to replace the windows?
The FRA glazing rules applied, so to save money.
Oh, I see.
And that's why the middle window, and the bay windows got replaced with the sliding windows.
Plated over.
Now, that's one of the first batch, and the window was plated over because it was right behind the stove, and the stove would crack the glass in it from the heat, so they just started plating them over. In later versions, they fixed that problem, so.
Got the divisional assignment on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Latonia coming around the Y off the,
Yeah,
Cincinnati
I
division.
think that is.
I was gonna say, it looks like Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Family Lines version, I remember several of those. Dual number, that's a city, what we used to call city cab, I don't know what they were called up north, but they've been pretty well stripped. They were meant for just,
Back
in
in.
Pensacola, they go from Golden Yard down to the port and back, that's the local, local cab. I don't think they had a generator, they didn't have a generator, and they may have had a battery in it, because I think they had a charger where they used to keep them. Okay, model history, now this gets interesting. Pacific Fastmail imported an HO scale brass model of Little Woody in the 70s. I think that was it was the time the H28, H29s came out, which I'm not sure how that was. Oriental Limited imported HO scale brass models of the Steel Caboose early series. Wood kits were as follow. L&N outside brace single sheet by Ambroid, which you used to be able to find those kits fairly easy on eBay, but I haven't seen one in a while. HO and wood passenger caboose by American Model Builders. That's similar. I think that's the same one up at TVRM. Then the Little Woodies Smoky Mountain Model Works did the original, and Blue Ridge Historics, which was Michael George, took that masters from him and started producing them. And then Michael did the O-scale Little Woody, which is beautiful, but found out he still has the masters for that thing.
Mullet River did those too.
Yeah, Mullet.
That's what mine is out there. And Smoky Mountain did an O-scale version of that.
He did?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I have one.
You sure it wasn't Blue Ridge?
I'm pretty sure.
No, I mean, he did it just like the Smoky Mountain.
Did they?
HO scale ones. It's,
I think it had box set Smoky Mountain.
maybe it was. We saw Michael originated those, but maybe I'm wrong. Probably wrong. And then Right Track originally produced the bay window cabooses. I remember they first showed up, we had the convention in Memphis. And that was, he was real, because I had to rent a car to go there, because my wife had the van with the kids in it. So, next. PFM did them in 2 different versions. And I love going to swap meets, and I don't usually go planning on buying anything, but if I happen to see something at a really good price, I saw this L&N Caboose in an Athearn box. Looked at it, it was one of those. PFM Caboose. Factory painted everything, $25. I said, I like this.
What a bargain that was.
Brass?
Yeah,
Jeez.
and I sold it for 50. Steve K would. So, because honestly, I know people love brass and the collectors and all that, but detail wise and everything, I think the kits have been better and all that, so I'd rather have the kits myself. You don't have the division point on this one, but Division Point came out with these, and they're nice, they're a lot nicer than these. I haven't seen one in person, I've only seen the photographs of them, but when they show up on eBay, you can expect well over north of $500 for one. So, I think they did a big Woody. I don't remember, I think they did one of each. But, okay, next. And then Oriental Limit did those brass ones. They did 2 versions. They had one with the roof walks and one without. I think the smoke jack is on the wrong side, and is about the only major thing with them. Next, there's the other wood.
So no one else has done models of these?
Right track.
Gotcha.
They were right track, yeah.
What's the correct color for the gray?
Same as the locomotive gray at that time. They were painted to match the locomotives, but why they had the red lettering instead of the yellow lettering, I'm not sure. But somebody later on, it wasn't too long, it wasn't like 2 years or something, decided we need them in red, because everybody expects the caboose to be in red, so.
That's what the song says.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the dreaded plaque kit, I still got a couple of these laying around. That's the Big Woody. Okay, but you get an idea of the parts. Since that one's not available, I don't think we need to spend much time on this one, on how to build it. But if you do come across one, be aware the parts may be warped in it, and you can straighten them out to an extent. I had one, the frame, underframe was so warped I could not straighten it out. I just ended up scratch building an underframe for it. Okay. Yeah. 150-degree oven. Okay. And that's always a big thing to have. I don't care for what, but straight edge sanding block. Yeah, just use flat. Okay. Right angle clamps, yeah. Those, we call that an etch buddy, I think. Those are nice. You can get them through Micromark or several places online. If you look under military modelers, use a lot of those. Next. bay window cabs kits. The last run of them. Well, there's your mule hide. Okay, this is where we're gonna. The new kits. When this was done, Greg was working on doing those. He did some test patterns. He took some of the masters from the Woody kits. The Woody kit has been handed down. It started with, Smoky Mountain Model Worst and Michael George Blue Ridge got them. Then we got the masters from Michael, and George got them next. Yeah, and he was experimenting with combining like the four walls together in one piece, and he was having some success with that, and the cupola as one piece. Cupola was like 5 pieces or something. They were looking fairly decent, and George just kind of got out of the business, so we got the masters back. We have sent the masters for both the little and the big to Pierre Oliver at Yarmouth. Pierre did an excellent job of getting everything together, so the new kits are getting ready to come out. All the 4 walls are done under the roof. There's a whole roof section. The cupola is one piece. They're going to be a whole lot simpler to assemble than these were. So hopefully, what you say, we have an idea on what the decals are. The last thing we're waiting on, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're piecing this kit together. Pierre did the casting, and then we got the photo etch parts ready. Decals are the last thing to be, and there'll be some other parts in the box. We're not gonna, I don't think we're gonna package trucks this time. We're just gonna have some recommended trucks in there. KD has one that's similar. There's not an exact match out there, but KD has one that's very similar, and the Tahoe Model Works, and we'll have those part numbers in the instructions, so.
So I got a question. I've got the Rusty Evans
Yeah.
kit. So this is coming after that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Rusty put together a lot of stuff, and I think he had a stockpile of kits too, so.
One of the things that we just finally had a breakthrough on with this ventilated boxcar, we were able to get all the instructions put on a tab on our website under the Modelers Corner major tab. We're gonna put the Big and Little Woody Rusty Evans instructions on the website too. So those instructions are about 70 pages long.
So that'll happen sometime in the next 6 months or so, 3 months?
Yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the decals. One of the things we were missing on the Smoky Mountain did the set originally that we had, and the safety heralds were, he had the later versions, but not the in the steam era up until the Dixie line were yellow classic L&N with the black background, and so those will be on the new sheet. Is he going to do the black separate, or is he going to do the combined, or do we know?
That we don't know yet.
Because there were some that were just strictly yellow lettering, didn't have the black background, but that was a much needed thing for all of those models, really, from earlier eras. So we're working on that. And my plans for the bay window, they're gone. We don't have those anymore. We still have the masters, but and from the research I'm doing, I think that's going to be one of our first 3D printed projects. Because the advantage to doing that, several advantages, is that we can print as many as we need. We print, and we can go to print on demand, so we never run out of them. And once we have the initial drawings done for the first one, we can modify those into different versions later on. So if it opened up a whole new world in modeling, so. But I cannot promise that anytime soon, so.
This is, a good time to say this about 3D printing. We could do a lot more for the modeling community if we can find a volunteer within our membership, hopefully, that is willing to take we've got some good drawings,
Like Southern?
but they need to be redrawn or CAD redrawn. I don't know what it is.
Somebody young.
I do it myself. But it needs to be drawn so that a 3D printer can read that drawing.
Somebody
And
young who's a
somebody
modeler?
that's good at that or likes to do that kind of work,
It's,
please call Lee or somebody and volunteer.
Like Lee Jr.
3D Central, 3D Central, which is probably where we have it, and this is another advantage. If we go with 3D Central, which I'm all for, Matt Herman, who used to be at ESU, runs 3D Central, and they will not only produce the kit, they will list it on their website, they do everything, and we get a percentage of the sales.
So would there be somebody at 3D Central that you could pay to do those?
There, I gotta talk to Matt again. When I talked to him last year, no. He said he's got people, but they're so booked up. I mean, that's exploded so much. If y'all know, they use Fusion 360, and it's a complicated program. I played with it a little bit, because I used to do CAD work, but not 3D stuff. And but it's still, it's a better, I mean, it's a simpler program than, what is the one y'all use here? That's,
It's nothing.
I know, it's a different.
It's Creo.
Creo.
That's what it is.
It's theirs, he showed me some of their stuff, I was like, whoa. It's good, but, they use Fusion 360, and they're willing to work with us. If we can get somebody can do like initial drawings, and they can take it and modify it to what they need for production. I'm probably going, maybe at RPM this year, I'm planning on going if I can get up with Matt again and see where they're at on that. But the problem is having somebody, it's not so much having, if we can find a volunteer to do it. We can certainly pay to have it done, but that's a huge cost. That's a big thing, so. Anybody got any questions or comments?
And that's regarding a wooden bay window or a steel bay window?
Still big one. We're gonna leave it to the NC guys and stuff to do their own stuff.
So
For
what,
now,
when you say that's
I
a
mean,
huge cost, what kind of cost are you
the,
doing?
the design cost, it'll run in the thousands, I'm sure, but,
It's a lot of time.
yeah, it's a lot of time. No, but like I said, once you get the initial drawing done, then you can make any modifications or such, so if you have it,
But we have all the drawings of the,
and plus there's several left, I mean, actual cabooses, so we measure them and stuff. We went back and redid some of the stuff on the big wooden glass, so. We can preserve stuff. There are a lot, if you know where to look, there's a lot of bay windows still around in different places. The wood cabooses are, I know of two in Alabama. One is about ready to fall in, it's somebody's house. And another one was at Talladega behind the Chamber of Commerce building, which is the old L&N Depot. It was a big woody, and they went in there and just ripped all the wood off the frame and built a new one. They didn't follow it too closely, so. But there's one up at Albertville, a big woody, that's still in decent, well, the last time I was by there, it's still in really good shape. We took a lot of photos and stuff for that one.
2 or 3 in Corbin, I think.
And we got
There's at least one over there.
Big one?
there's a little woody at KRM, it's just a jewel.
Townsend has that one they chopped down.
There's a really good, little woody at Evansville downtown.
Franklin, North Carolina has one.
The bay window 1148 at Milton, at the
West Florida Railroad Museum. We picked that one out when we got it because it still had the roof wall on it. It still got the original roof wall. And we put the windows back in. We unplated it. The funny story, the bunks in there are lockers. You lift up the top, well, they were welded shut when we got it. Well, let's open it up and see what's in here. We had the grinder out there, sparks there, open up, things full of fuses and torpedoes. But that one's fairly intact inside too, also.
And it's got the walkover seats.
Yeah, it's got the right seats in it now. So, but like I said, if you know where to look, there's a ton of them left, or at least in the bay windows. The woodies are starting. They're either well preserved or they're gone, or just rotting in pieces.
Used to be one in Bruton, a little woody, but I think it was falling apart too.
There's an NC bay window, wood-sided in Birmingham. It's an antique shop. It's on top of Shades Mountain. And I haven't been inside it. I'm sure it's gutted because they got stuff in there. So, you never know where you'll find something.
Am I ready? Yeah, I'm ready when you're the chauffeur.
Do y'all want, Dave, do you have that clinic or you wanna just call off on it?
It's whatever people have got the patience to withstand.
Cause that's the only thing we had left on today.
I'd like to see it.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
We'll
It's,
wrap it
we'll take a short break, we'll switch over and I'll do that and I'll try to,
I have a question. It's not about cabooses.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting ready to build, well, I want to build
Deersville.
several Pullman cars and paint them L&N
Deersville.
in the blue.
Okay.
Where you probably.
But nobody has ever made script, the word Pullman in script
I think,
that I, in those scales, that I know of.
Have you tried the guy at Great Decals?
yeah, I think
He says, I'm doing research, but he hasn't, that's been a long
It's a little
time.
building by the road, it's easy to miss that.
Yeah, Scott.
Who did?
He's signing out entry door. That's the only
Oh,
reason.
you can't get that.
Well, I have the address, so I'm.
I never did the word Pullman, Champ did
Just
not.
gets us there, so.
So that's what I'm looking for, Pullman on the letterboard and a small L&N
I
on
don't
the end.
suspect there'll be
So recent addition was to Deersville.
really. Well, I mean, the number of coffee shops that are still around is limited, so.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, what is Fusion? What is it?
It's a new hobby shop.
Hobby
It was
shop.
in Cartersville. It's a guy